so excited to be here. I know everyone who's out there has probably heard all about what we're talking about, the free application for federal student aid. So what I'm going to bring to you guys today is a step-by-step guide of each page, and we're going to go through it line by line so you can see exactly how to fill out the FAFSA. So here we go. We're just going to get straight to it. I want everyone to know that when they are logging in to complete the document, they need to go to the URL that is FAFSA.gov. So that's the only URL that you use. If you are a parent or a student who is a high school senior, or a parent who's helping their high school senior, and you need to start a new FAFSA, you'd press the green button on your left. And if you are a returning student or continuing student, or you're logging back in, you can go ahead and log in on your right. So those are the only two ways to get into the document. Once you're in the document, you will see the basic login student section. Whenever you're in a blue section and it says student, that's referring to either the high school student or the college student. And when we get further on in the presentation, you will come to a parent section, and that will be a lovely purple color. So let's go ahead and start with the blue section. You're going to fill in the student's first name, their last name, their social security number, and their birthday. So this should be exactly how it reads on their social security card. And then whenever you're in the FAFSA, you want to select the next button. So you're never going to use the enter key. Always use your next button. And if you have any questions, there's a great help and hints section, which the green bubble's over, but we'll kind of go into that in a little bit. If your student is a high school senior, then you're going to want to start a new FAFSA for 2015-16. If the student is a returning student, then actually the screen will say renewal. So you'll go ahead and select the renewal. I didn't provide that screenshot for you because maybe you've done it in the past. So this year we're starting 2015-16. You're going to go ahead and create a password for this application. Usually it's either 8 letters, 8 numbers, but it's no more than 8. So you'll create it and you'll enter it again, and then you'll select next. I love this page. I'm all about hot links. So I encourage families, if they have questions, to go ahead and click on the hot links, signing the document, saving the document, how to complete it if you have any questions. So this is a great place to do some education on the forms. So please take the opportunity to do this. And then when you're done, go ahead and select next. So this page is all about the student. Remember, anytime we're in the blue section, we are talking about the student. So here, we're just going to go line by line throughout this. You're going to enter the student's last name, the student's first name, their middle initial, their social security number, and their date of birth, which may be populated from the previous page, but for sake of screenshots, I did this for you guys. Whether the student is female or male, going to enter when it says you or your. Anytime you're in the blue section, remember that's the student. So students, if you're listening to, you're also going to want to pay attention to that. This is your section. It's actually your form. So if we do have any students on the line attending, this is your form. So the student's mailing address, their city, the state they live in, that'll be a drop down. You can select the state, your zip code, and whether or not you've lived in the state that you selected above for the past 5 years. You're also going to want to put a permanent telephone number, whether it's a home phone number or a cell phone number, and then the student's email address. Once you put it in the first box, it will populate a second box so you can verify it. So it's a smart form. It pops up boxes depending on how you answer the question. So some of the boxes, I haven't shown you all of them, but most of them are pretty straightforward. You're also going to select the marital status of the student and whether or not the student has a driver's license. If the student does have a driver's license and you select yes at the bottom of the screen, two boxes will pop up where you place the number and the state that that driver's license is valid. The next page, we're still in the student section, is are you a U.S. citizen? So in this particular case, this student is a U.S. citizen. And then the next box, because the student that we did for our profile today for you guys is a male student, then all males at the age of 18 need to register for selective service. And if you select no, that they haven't registered, a box will pop down and you can select register me now. In financial aid, in order to get it, all men need to register for selective service. The next section is whether or not the student will have a high school diploma when they begin their college year in 2015-16. So usually most students will select they have a high school diploma, but there are other drop-down options. And then in this particular case, this is a new student, so has this new student ever attended college? So the answer would be no. They've never attended college. This is going to be their first year in college as a freshman. And then they're also going for their first bachelor's degree. They don't have a previous bachelor's degree right now. And then the next question talks about, are you interested in being considered for work study? So the answer is yes. All students most of the time are interested in being considered for work study, and this is the only form that you can use to apply for work study is the free application for federal student aid. So I recommend that you select yes if you're interested. And then, will the student have another first bachelor's degree before July of 2015? And so in this particular case, no, they will not. The new question on this page is, are you, the student, a foster youth, or were you at any time in the foster care system? So this student was not in the foster care system, so we selected no. And then parent 1 and parent 2, students and parents need to decide if there's a parent 1 and there's a parent 2, and keep that throughout the form. So in this case, I'll just give you an example. We'll make dad parent 1 and mom parent 2. So dad completed college and mom completed college. The Department of Ed is trying to collect all of the high schools across the nation. So this is where you would type in the student's high school, the city that it's located in, and the state. You'll be able to select from a drop-down. Once you populate those fields, you'll notice the example I have for you today. This college or high school is Notre Dame High School in West Haven, Connecticut. You'll see it's located down at the bottom. So we're going to select that high school, and then it's going to confirm it for the application. And then you're going to select next. Then the fun part comes. This is great when you have to add in the schools. So you can add in a school by selecting the state or the city, or you can type in the school name. If you know the federal school code, feel free to type it in the right. And then once you type it in, it will populate to the left. So in this instance, I'm giving you an example of Fairfield University. So we were looking for Fairfield University, so we populated it on the left. And then once you put a little check mark in the box of Fairfield University, and select add, it will then move itself over to the right and those are the schools that the FAFSA is going to. So you're going to be able to add up to 10 schools on the right side. So I'm going to show you what it'll look like on the next page. So here we have 2 colleges that are going to receive this application. Once you have the colleges listed on the application, you then select what kind of housing, whether you're going to live on campus or off campus with parents or with others. So for this example, I went ahead and selected on campus for you, and you'll be able to toggle up and down. You also can change where the school placement is on the list by using the down and last arrows to the right, and by highlighting the school you'll be able to move them up and down. And also obviously the blue link will remove the school. If you need to go back and add a school, select the add school button, it'll take you back, so you don't select next or back. This is the dependency determination page. There are 13 questions to decide whether a student is a dependent or an independent. If all of the questions are answered no, the student is considered a dependent. If one of the questions are answered yes, then the student is considered an independent, and the form will move into independent status, and they will not need to provide their parents different information. So it just depends. Remember when I said earlier that it is a SMART form, so depending on how you answer it, if you answer yes to any of them, a drop down can occur, and you may need to fill in the blanks accordingly. That's with your specific family situation. So was the student born before 1992? Is the student married? Are they going for a master's degree right now? So on and so forth, till you get to all 13 questions. The last 4 questions on the page usually have a drop down and will need proof, 2 types of proof to the college to explain their situation in any of those 4 last questions at the end. And that would be a college question that you might need to go in with your FAFSA and tell them what's going on in your specific situation that has to deal with those last 4 questions. So once you're determined whether you're an independent or a dependent, and we're going to move forward using a profile of a dependent student, this page is saying, okay, now we've determined that you answered all the questions no on the previous page, so now you're a dependent. With that said, we want you to know that you're going to need to provide parent information. And if there's anything special that's happening in your house, then you need to let the college know. There's no place on this form for you to really let the form know, so you'll be letting the college know. And here we are, we're right at the purple section. So anytime you're in this section, this lovely color of purple, you're going to be filling out the parent section part. So when we're talking about parents, the first thing they're going to ask you is to tell us the marital status of your legal, biological, or adoptive parents. So if the parents you live with are your biological or legal parents, then you would select married, or whatever the status will be. And we'll go to some other pages and give you some examples. Also, you're going to put the parent's email address if they have one, and another box will drop down. What state if they've lived in that particular state for at least 5 years. How many people live in the household, so the household size, and then how many students are going to college. So it's going to be the student's going to be 1, whether or not they have a brother or sister or a couple of brothers or sisters who are under the age of 24 who are still going for their bachelor's. They get to be included in the household. Okay, so it looks like everyone's sort of here by now, so we're going to keep going, and then we're going to have questions in a little bit. We're still on the parent section. So for this scenario, I have a divorced parent. So the parent's marital status is divorced, and then it asks for the month and year they were divorced, so you would go ahead and enter that. For this profile, mom is the parent who is the custodial parent who has the student 51% of the time. So they ask for mom's social security number, her last name, her first initial, and her birthday. and then they also ask for mom's email address, and there it is, they ask for it again. So that's kind of the example where I've said earlier the box will pop down, and so now at least you get to see it. And then has mom lived in Connecticut for at least 5 years? There's 2 in the house, mom and the student, and 1's going to college. 1 would be the student. So you can see an example of how that works, the 2 and 1 household size. I also wanted to give you an example of what it looks like for 2 parents. So in this particular situation, there's 2 parents. 2, they're married or they could be remarried. And the month and year that they were married, or if it is a remarried couple. Parent 1, whoever that is, social security number, last name, first initial, and birthday. And then parent 2, social security number, last name, first initial, and birthday. And then it would go on to have the email addresses and where, if they've lived in that state for at least 5 years. And in this particular situation, actually would be 3 in 1. So there'd be parent 1, parent 2, and 1 in college. So that would be corrected to fit this family. Then they're going to talk about whether or not you're going to file a tax return. So it's going to say, select what kind of tax return, or will you file a tax return? So you're going to select, yes, I will file. I'm pretty sure that most families have not filed their tax return for 2014 yet, but maybe you have. So if you will file, what status are you going to file, whether you're going to file single or head of household or married filed joint or married filed separate. They'll give you the options there. If you're not going to file, you would select that, or if you've already filed, you can select that. Once you go to the next page, you'll see the green box. The green box on the top is the IRS Data Retrieval tool. That tool is not going to be working until February 1st. Once you've filed your tax returns, from the day that you send them in, you need to count 3 weeks from that day. You can come back to your FAFSA. You can log in, go to the green button, select the green button, and it will take you to the IRS, and it will draw your tax return into this application and populate the fields so they are correct. In the meantime, you're going to write what kind of form, whether it's an IRS 1040 or a 1040A or a 1040EZ. You're going to write your estimated parent contribution or adjusted gross income, and then your estimated work and wages. You're also going to talk about whether you're a dislocated worker. So that question says dislocated. And in the financial aid industry, when they say dislocated, they mean, are you unemployed due to special circumstances? So that's a yes or a no question. And then in talking about those whole drop downs, this is a particular situation due to the income that this mom makes. It dropped down the menu below where it says, do you receive any of these benefits? So this particular family does not receive any of these benefits, and so because they don't, they may be eligible to fill out a 1040A or an EZ. That's an extra populated question, and so she is actually eligible, so she selected it. Then you're going to estimate what your taxes will be using line 56 or 55 for your 2013 tax return and populate it in the top, and how many exemptions that you have. And then, do you have any additional financial information? The American Opportunity Tax Credit will be located on your tax return. Do you pay child support? Do you receive taxable earnings of WorkStudy, grants, scholarships that you report to the IRS, combat pay, or cooperative education? Anytime that you put a check in one of those boxes, it will drop down and show you another box where you're going to put the dollar amount. If you make payments to a tax-deferred pension, that will be on box 12 of your W-2. Then you'll go ahead and check that box and put in the amount below. IRA deductions to SEP or simple. Do you receive child support or tax-exempt interest income? So for any of those, you're going to go ahead and check the box if they apply to you, and then put the dollar amount below. And remember that help section, I didn't actually do a screenshot of it here, but anytime you hover over that button, the help will pop up and tell you if it can elaborate more on that question if you have any more questions. And feel free to always call them, or you can live chat them. They also have hot links to their website. So they have done a great, outstanding job of really reaching out to help families manage this form. So don't hesitate to reach out to them, call them on the phone, whatever is the most comfortable way for you to communicate with them. The next question on this page talks about, do you want to skip questions about mom's assets for this particular page? You could say yes or no, and if you said no, then the drop down would pop down and you would put your cash, checking, and savings in the first box, and any investments, not including your house or retirement, in the second box, and your net worth of your current business assets, if you had them, if you have over 100 employees. Now we're back in the blue section, which is the student section. So will the student file a tax return? You'll select will file, already filed, or not going to file. And you can see I kind of left the help section over there so you can get an idea of what happens if you have a question and you want clarification. You can just click over there. Will the student file? So the student is going to file a tax return, and they are going to file as a single status. So you would select next. And since the student is going to file, you're going to press that green button the same day that you press the green button for your tax return, and you're going to put the student's information in and draw the tax return from the IRS to populate these fields. You're going to talk about what kind of tax return, the adjusted gross income, and work and wages. The questions also on this page follow along the line where they say, do you have any tax that you need to pay that you need to enter into the first box, and how many exemptions? So if you're still claiming the student, it's 0 exemptions. If the student is claiming themselves and you're not claiming them, then it would be 1. And then you'd go through all the additional financial information questions and the untaxed income questions. And for sake of time, I think probably I know lots of people have sort of clarifying questions, and Robin and I have definitely decided, to give you the opportunity to do this, because I'm sure if one person has a question, many people have the question. So we'll just go one more slide to the next page and we can open it up for questions. So do you want to skip questions about your assets? This particular student said yes. So we're going to the sign page, and the sign-in page will have the student's personal information on the top. They'll go ahead and put their PIN in. They'll agree to all the terms and electronically sign. And then the parent signature, a parent also needs to sign this if you are a dependent student. So they'll go ahead and put their PIN in, they'll agree to all the terms, and they'll sign it. And then down on the bottom corner, they'll submit their FAFSA now. So Rob, I think with that said, we can go ahead and take questions.
All right, lots of questions. So let's dive right in.
Okay.
Jodi, should the permanent phone number be the home phone, the student's cell phone, or the parent's cell phone?
Go ahead and make it the home phone.
All right, that was easy. Can we talk about those 10 schools and the ordering of them? First off, if there are more than 10 schools, can you discuss the process to add an 11th, 12th, so forth? And then secondly, some questions around, can colleges see that list of schools? Will that affect a student's admissibility if they see they're applying to more than 10 schools? Does order matter? And if so, how should they order the schools they list?
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely address that because I know that's a totally hot topic, so we'll do that second. So let's do the 10 schools. So once you put in your 10 schools, you then submit the FAFSA. Once you submit it, you wait till you get your student aid report by email. Usually it comes that day, and you wait till it's been confirmed. Once you do that, you log back into the document and you remove, let's say you're applying to 15 schools, you remove 5 of the schools and you add the next 5 and you resubmit. So then you'll have 2 applications on the central processing system at the Department of Ed. Okay, so I hope that helps everyone with the 10 schools. Now let's get into hot topics. So hot topics about the order of the school. There's lots of conversation out there. I hear it. I know you've heard it. Yes, order matters, but and what length we don't really know. So in order to be neutral in this situation, I highly recommend just go with alphabetical. They are saying put your top schools in, but maybe students don't know their top schools, so let's go with alphabetical.
All right, great. And is there a reason we would not want the FAFSA information sent to a specific college?
I can't think of a reason. I mean, I'm definitely feeling that parents and students, want to take all the right steps during the whole college application process. So college application process to us means the admission applications, the financial aid applications. So with that said, go ahead and apply, and that way you won't turn around and say, oh gosh, I should have applied and I didn't. You want to meet all your state and federal deadlines and college deadlines, so I recommend apply, apply, apply.
All right, we have lots of questions around specific family situations, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to tackle these in kind of an orderly fashion. I know it's different families are different. There's all sorts of stuff. I'll just give you a real quick rundown.
Okay.
Remarried parent, step parent, aunt with guardianship, custody, stepchildren, 3 stepchildren, one of which is in college, one is claimed by decree but pay child support for them.
Okay. Can I jump in, Rob? Because I have a great answer for all those questions. You ready?
In that case, please do.
Okay. So let's start out. I'm going to give you the scenario. So if this is a student application and the student has 2 biological parents, those 2 biological parents are still married, they would be on this application. If those 2 biological parents have divorced, who does the student live with 51% of the time? If the student lives with mom and mom is remarried, then the application is about mom and new remarried dad. If the student lives with dad and dad is remarried, then the new parents become dad and the remarried. If the student lives with mom and she has not remarried and she's divorced or a widow, then she would be divorced or a widow. So I hope that helps with the parent situation. It can only go, there's actually, if you go to FAFSA, either their Facebook page or you go follow them on Twitter, they have an infographic, and I can send it to Rob too, about who's your parent. And it gives you a great breakdown of establishing who's your parent. So I hope that helped, like, parts of them. Are there any specific ones I should touch on, Rob?
Let's move on. That was very helpful, though.
Okay.
Couple
Okay.
rapid fire ones. Is parents' social security number mandatory?
Yes.
Is the application pin you mentioned at the beginning different or the same as the pins on the signature page?
The same.
If you believe
There's a password on the front of the page and a pin on the back of the page. So those are 2 different. There's a difference between a password and a pin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You believe you do not qualify for a Pell Grant or other federal aid, but still file a CSS profile, are you required to file for FAFSA?
You're not required to file for FAFSA, no.
Is there anyone that you recommend does not file for FAFSA? Or what would be a scenario where it's not worthwhile?
I don't really recommend unless if you absolutely know how you're going to pay the bill, the first question that you should ask you and your family is, how am I going to pay the bill? If you have the money to pay the bill, then maybe you don't need your FAFSA filled out. But if you want to take a loan option, or if you want to be considered for any kind of financial aid, then you should fill out your free application for federal student aid. It's free.
Great. Can you talk about, let's see, I'm trying to put these questions all together.
You're doing a great job.
In terms of using 2013 estimates and then coming back in and putting the real 2014 numbers in, and kind of what that timeline looks like, as well as when will the IRS retrieval tool be active, and will that delay the application? Is there an alternative to using the IRS retrieval tool?
Okay, so the IRS data retrieval tool will be ready. They mentioned that at the conference on February 1st, so you can look for that on February 1st. There's no consequence for using the IRS data retrieval tool. In fact, I recommend it. If for some reason you're having trouble using the IRS data retrieval tool, you can go to order a transcript. Just go ahead and populate that into your internet browser. So it's order an IRS transcript. And if you order a return transcript, you can either order it online and they'll provide you with a PDF right then and there, or you can have one mailed to you. And then if you're not able to use the IRS data retrieval tool, you can take that IRS transcript and mail it to the college that may request it. Hopefully there won't be any delay, but you do have to wait 3 weeks from the date you file your tax return.
Oh, sorry, I asked the question and I was muted. My apologies. Is there any advantage or disadvantage to not answering additional financial aid questions?
Is there any advantage or disadvantage to answering additional financial aid questions?
Or to not answering the additional financial questions?
If you don't answer those and they are populated on your W-2s and tax returns, the college will go ahead and answer them for you. So if you don't put them in, they will be answered for you, or they will be drawn from your tax return to the application. So if you don't answer them, they will populate anyway.
What exactly is WorkStudy and who gets awarded this program?
I think you asked what WorkStudy is, but you kind of cut out.
Sorry, I'll go again. What exactly is WorkStudy and who gets awarded this program?
Okay, so WorkStudy is a federal program, and your student, if eligible, will see it on their unofficial award letter and on their official award letter. That means the student can get a job on campus. If eligible, they'll get maybe a PIN or a login to go to maybe the WorkStudy site when they commit to their college, and then they can get a job. And once they get that job on campus, they would get a paycheck that goes to them, and that paycheck obviously can be used however you guys decide that it's going to be used to help pay for books, supplies, educational expenses. Who gets that? The college determines who gets WorkStudy at each of their college.
If you're an undocumented student or have undocumented parents, how should you go about completing this form?
If you're undocumented student, the very first page that we were on did list some options that you could go to there. So go ahead and select that very first page login, and you'll see the options there. If your parents are undocumented, or if they have an A number, you can put that in there too.
Is a 529 plan considered an asset? And then similarly, in the untaxed income section, is 529 information disclosed? And if so, which checkbox refers to it?
A 529 plan is a parent asset, so it goes in the parent section under assets. It's considered a parent asset.
Are things like housing allowances and insurance allowances considered part of salary? Should the entire amount be listed or just salary?
Just salary, only housing allowances if you're in the military or clergy.
Can you talk about students that are dual enrollment? So students who are taking, high school students who are taking college courses, they're essentially dually enrolled in high school and college. How do you go about filling out the FAFSA for those students?
So those students on the page where it talks about, do you have a high school diploma? That drop down on that page will help identify those students so they can fill out the FAFSA using those identifiers to specify who they are and where they're going.
The form asks for a figure on line 56 for our joint 1040. I think it's for income tax. Ours is blank. However, there are figures on other lines. What number am I supposed to use? And then what if line 56 on 1040 is 0?
Rob, can you repeat the first part of that? I got the line 56 one, but the other one, what line were they looking at?
Sorry, yeah, both were line 56. So ours is blank.
Oh, okay. So for your 2013 tax return, line 56 will be blank. So you should be looking at line 55. So line 55, if it has a number in there, go ahead and populate into that, into the FAFSA where it says line 56. That's for 2014. If it says 0, then go ahead and put 0. So it's kind of confusing for you guys, so sorry about that.
And for parents with multiple students, if you have an older child in college but they don't live at home, do you add them to this form?
If you have an older child at college that is an undergraduate program, they get to still be counted in the household. If they're going for their master's or they're above that, then they are not counted in this form.
Do we need to report the amount of money in retirement accounts?
No, you do not.
About how long does it take to complete the FAFSA?
I've heard it takes 21 minutes.
Are you required to report court-ordered child support if it is not paid and received regularly? Does this affect aid awarded?
Be required. So if you're receiving child support, you need to put it in there. If you're not receiving it, but you're expecting to receive it in 2015, then you need to enter it into the form. And if it's court order and you're receiving it, then you should count it.
So can you again talk us through the advantage of submitting the FAFSA with estimated information and then going back and updating once you have your 2014 tax information?
Yeah, so that's a really important question, Rob. I love that question, and it doesn't come at a better time, which is right now. So it's January 12th today. Most families don't have their W-2s or their 1099s, and some of the colleges have due dates for their FAFSA on February 1st. If your student has a due date, then you're going to need to put estimated in and get that application in this week or next week at the very latest. You don't want to wait until hopefully the system won't crash or there won't be a lot of people on at the same time. So you need to use estimated so that when you get your corrected true tax return, then you can draw using the IRS tool and populate the corrected numbers into this application and then send it off to the college, where they will then update your financial aid award letter.
Excellent. What about you and your spouse and you live in different states? How do you account for that on the form?
You would indicate on the form where the student lives 51% of the time.
During a presentation at my daughter's high school, they suggested a FAFSA should not be submitted with estimates regarding taxes. It was implied if the amounts aren't accurate, financial aid will be delayed. Thoughts?
Yes, not even do I have thoughts, I have proof. So we went back to this slide. So you see that blue box right there, everyone? That is the income estimator. So the FAFSA is encouraging you to do that. So you need to do that.
Questions about acquiring the PIN. When do they apply for the PIN? Before beginning to fill out the form?
You can, if you want to go ahead and apply for your PIN tonight, feel free. It's a great little homework assignment. If you wait till the end, there is a hot link that says apply for PIN now.
Hi, I'm terribly sorry, everyone. I just got disconnected for a second. Jody, can you hear me?
Hi, welcome back.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Sorry about that. It was bizarre. All right, back at it.
Rapid fire questioning happening now. Here we are.
Does FAFSA application help or hurt with merit scholarship?
FAFSA application has nothing to do with merit scholarship. So students are awarded merit strictly based on their admissions. Has nothing to do with financial aid. This is based on your need, your financial need. So you're good to go in that department.
Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the questions here. We're getting caught up. We're getting close.
Yay!
Who's the guy Sisyphus? You roll the boulder up the mountain and then you go back to the bottom. One second. Question about students who aren't seniors in high school. So if you're a junior or sophomore in high school, you don't have to worry about this until January of your senior year of high school, correct?
January of your senior year in high school, yes. And if you're feeling anxious and you want to like just download the worksheet and fill it out by hand and sort of practice, feel free to do that. It'll give you some of the questions. You know, the FAFSA may change the year that your student is a senior, but maybe not a lot of changes.
So the additional financial aid section, pardon me, the additional financial information section, what is that for? When would you add information there? Can you give us some examples?
So if mom and dad lived together and dad was previously married and is paying child support in a previous marriage, then you would select box 2. I went ahead and pulled up that screen so you guys can take a look at it. Hopefully you're a visual learner and so am I. So if you pay child support, you would select the second box. You would put a check in it. A drop down would come down and say how much child support are you paying. If you have an American Opportunity Tax Credit on the second page of your tax return, then you would select that box and you would write that in there. So that's when those additional financial information questions come into play.
Great. We have a student. I'm 18, live with both my parents, but I don't want to apply for FAFSA under them. I want to apply under myself. Can I do that?
Well, student, you need to have your parents on the application unless you're self-supporting. So if you live by yourself, you pay your own rent, you work, you buy your food, and you're able to prove to the college that you're self-supporting, you might be an independent. But if you just, by not wanting to do it, I'm not sure how you're living. So you might need to contact me in another forum other than here on the webinar.
Can you avoid providing financial information such as investments, bank account information, or is this required? How will they find this information?
It is required. They ask, and this is a federal document, so you need to be truthful on it. You're signing your name at the end, so it says when you agree to all the terms that everything that you write and that you filled out is truthful, and if not, there's a penalty.
Can you finish the application on a different day than you started? Does that affect the application in any way?
Yes, you can finish it on a different day. So you would save on the bottom. They have like a save tab. So you'll go ahead and click on the save tab, and then you'll exit out. And then the next time you log back in, you'll use the login side, and you'll log back in using your first name, last name, social security number, and your birthday, and it won't affect the application at all. Just be aware of when your financial aid due dates are for the college.
What does zero EFC mean?
Zero EFC means zero estimated expected family contribution.
Do you have any specific advice for counselors who work with students whose parents won't or can't file any of this information, but yet the students are planning to go to college and will need these financial resources? Have you encountered that in any kind of tips or strategies for those counselors to work with those families?
So most, thank you, counselors. I think that you do an amazing job at high schools, and I think that you're a huge advocate. Most high schools or some high schools usually do a college financial aid night. If your high school doesn't do it and you feel familiar, maybe you can volunteer to have students come one night. I actually do it at a high school in my state where I have parents come and students come and we fill out the FAFSA together. So if you can help them do that, I think that that would just sort of add to the advocacy of going to college and helping them. There's also the tutorial where if the student wants to reach out to the federal student aid, they can, and I'm sure that they would help them on the phone too, or email or live chat.
What is the latest to submit the FAFSA?
Usually it's in the summertime, but remember my little tip, you need to meet those college deadlines. The longer you wait, the less money they have. So you want to make sure that you try to meet all priority deadlines for every college you're applying to, and they will be listed on the website of the college under the financial aid page of when their deadlines are.
What do you suggest for people who typically file for an extension on their tax return?
Don't file for an extension anymore. Financial aid is given out before your student starts in September, and so you'll need to provide your tax return before they begin school. So if you file for an extension and you go to file your taxes in October, your student might miss the opportunity, if eligible and awarded, to receive that money until you can provide your tax return or a tax transcript that you filed.
Grandparents set up a 529 college account for my son. I thought this was tax-free, so my son would not have to include his taxable income. Do you know if this is correct?
I don't know if that's correct. I would need to check.
A lot of questions about, do I make too much money? What's the upper income limit for need-based financial aid? I know you can't provide a specific number, but do you have any examples of families that might, seem to be high-income families that still received financial aid?
It depends on the school too. I mean, Rob, I really, giving a number, then we would say that X amount of people wouldn't apply. But, if college is costing 60,000, 65, 72, or whatever college is costing, or 50,000, and you're worried about it, there are net price calculators. The net price calculator can be located on each college website. under the financial aid section, or technically it's supposed to be 5 clicks from the home page. The net price calculator, you can estimate using your assets, income, household size, and see how much financial aid you could possibly get from that school. I think it's an amazing tool. And usually if you use the ones on the specific college site, they can tell you whether or not you're eligible, what you can expect to receive, or what you can't expect to receive. So maybe that will help parents a little bit.
Can you still check yes to WorkStudy program even if you choose not to participate when the offer comes? Is it only one-time option to apply for that year?
So you fill out your free application for federal student aid every year. So for each year, you're going to either check yes or no. So for this year, if you check yes and you decline it, then yes, the second year that you apply for financial aid. If you check yes and you are offered it, then you can go ahead and accept it then.
What about loss on the sale of a home? Is that considered? If so, how?
Your house is not on this form at all, so they don't ask about your house.
Just scrolling through these questions. We got a lot, but most have been answered.
Yay, good job.
When would you submit an appeal letter for special circumstances to a college?
So colleges are, they have different ways that they process special circumstances. Some you can submit the special circumstance letter right away if something's happening in your family, and they will let you know whether or not they're going to read or consider the special circumstance before your student commits there or after. So it just depends on the college's process. There's a lot of colleges out there that don't accept or read special circumstances now during admission time. They wait till the summer. So it's a college by college situation that you want to contact that financial aid officer at that college and ask them.
Are vehicles paid off considered assets?
No.
Does each school send a separate award letter, or is there one letter for all?
Oh, good question. I love that. We can almost end on that question too. So each school sends us their own financial aid award letter, but they may not send it to you because a lot of colleges are not using snail mail. So they might post it on your student's center or student portal. So here's what I recommend. First, once the student applies to college, they'll get a login and a password. They should go ahead and set up their student portal or their student center, and using their login, their password for each college. That may mean 10 or 15, or that may mean 3. And then once a week, they should be checking their student portal, clicking on the financial aid tab, or maybe there's a financial aid link to see if their financial aid award is live and they can see it, or maybe if the financial aid office needs documents that are outstanding or verification items in order to create a financial aid award letter for you. So the student might receive an email that says you can now view your financial aid award letter click on this link, and then they would be driven to the student portal. So that's a great question. I love that.